Okay, so this is a video talking about finding domain and range from a graph of function or relation. All the ones that I'm doing are functions. And you have to remember the domain stands for the x values that can be plugged into a function. So when I look at these graphs, like this first one here is very simple. It has just 4 coordinates. The domain will be those x values for those coordinates. So when I look at these, I should have negatives on these two, didn't get them on there. -3 goes with that, -2 goes with this, +1 goes with that, +3 goes with this one. So again, these are negatives or they didn't show up in my scan. So my domain is -3, -2, 1, 3. That's what I have reflected here. The range, on the other hand, are my y values that go with these points. So looking at my y values, this point has a y value of 2. That's why I have a 2 there. This point and this point both have a y value of 3, which is okay. Still a function, so I have a 3 marked down. And that coordinate, that point, has a y value of 4, so my range would be 2, 3, 4. Now this is one type of problem. I wouldn't have this on a test, but you will have some homework questions on it. Another style will be this one. And these dots, I overemphasize these dots. These are the endpoints of this line segment. The dots mean that it actually takes on that coordinate. It reaches the coordinate. So when I look at the domain are x values. And since I have no breaks in this curve, simple line, my domain is going to go from -3 to 3. Now, there's different ways of writing notation. This is one way. This is set builder notation. X such that, that's what this means, x such that x is between -3 and 3, and these equals indicate that it does reach these endpoints. So -3, that x value is reflected there. +3, x value is reflected there. There's no breaks in it. That's my domain. The range are the y values. So my lowest y value here is 2, and my highest y value is 5. Your domain is left to right, x's. Your range is bottom up, y's. So my range, again, smallest is 2, highest is 5, and it's solid. So all y values between 2 and 5 are reflected, and that's what's happening here. And bring this other one down so we can see a little better. Open dot, open circle, means that this coordinate isn't filled in exactly. And what that changes for me is going from solid dots, you'll notice I'll have equals on inequalities, and open dots I'll have strict inequality. So I'm looking at this, my domain goes from -2 over, because -2, -1, all these x values, there's an infinite number of them, always have a curve, either above or below them. And notice this arrow. That arrow means that this curve is going to continue up like this. So my domain is going to go from -2 to infinity. And one way of writing it is this, x is greater than -2. My range is going to go from -3 up. Well, my smallest one is -3. My largest is infinity. So my range is going to go from -3 to infinity. Again, since that's an open dot, I do not put equals on. Here's a couple more. Get my curve. There we go. So I look at this. Remember, the arrows mean that this curve is going to continue down. And as it continues down, it's going to keep going left. This curve is going to continue up. And as it continues up, it's going to keep going right. There's no breaks in this curve. So my domain, just looking at this, is -infinity to infinity. And on this one right there, I use set builder with an interval notation in it. The range, well, this is going down to -infinity. So my y value goes from -infinity all the way up, and this keeps going up, so I'll go to +infinity. Domain, left to right, range, bottom up. On this one here, I got a little rambunctious putting this dot on, but I'm just emphasizing that's the highest point. That would be the maximum value, is a y equals 5. The arrows telling me this is going to tend to keep doing this. This is going to tend to keep doing that. So when I look at my domain, If there's no breaks in it and I have arrows going left and right, my domain is going to be negative infinity to infinity. And I don't put equals on because you can never reach infinity. Now range, on the other hand, how far down do these arrows go? Well, they go clear to negative infinity. So I know I have to start at negative infinity, and as I look up, where do my y values stop? Well, they stop at 5. And the dot tells me it can take that value on, so it's less than or equal to 5. So quick recap, domain or x values, you go from left to right. Range or y values, you go from bottom